Welcome to another session of It's Business Unusual. From our last episode, we tackled how to prepare yourself for a Zoom meeting and look presentable while at it. My name is Jenga, an IT consultant and the ICT and Web Coordinator here at Parklands Baptist Church. Today, we're going to look at a few tips on how to host your Zoom meeting and take charge of them while at it. First and foremost, we're going to look at how to create a meeting and what to do, precautions to take, and what kind of privileges to give your meeting attendees. So first of all, when you go to the Zoom link creation section, it gives you a number of options, which if you allow me, I'll refer to. Number one, it allows you to give your meeting a name and a description, which, for example, you can say it's a business orientation meeting or any name that will suit your kind of meeting. Select the date and time of when your meeting is starting and when it's scheduled for, the duration of the meeting, time zone, depending on if you are on a different time zone from where we are, as we're in Nairobi. It will also give you an option of generating a meeting ID, which you have two options. You can either choose for it to generate for you automatically or for you to dedicate a preferred kind of meeting ID that you'd want. Another option, it allows you to choose the kind of security you'd want your meeting to have. Likewise, it gives you two options, which you can choose either or both. One of them is having a passcode for your meeting, such that when anyone lands the link on them, they'll be asked to put in a password for them to join the meeting. Or the other option is allow the option of waiting room, whereby if the link goes to anyone, likewise when they click on it, they'll be put on a waiting room whereby the meeting host will be tasked on allowing them into the meeting one by one. Another option is on the video. It allows you to choose whether you want your hosts and participants, or rather your participants, to join with their video on or off. My preferred option would be for you to set it off, such that many a times when people get into the meetings with the video on, some are not ready, some the phone is upside down, some they have a funny background or funny things happening in their background. So for you as a host, I would advise you to choose the option of your participants joining with their video off. Moving on with the meeting options, there is an option of allowing your participants to join anytime. I would recommend for you to untick that option, just still for your security purposes, but next to it, there's the option of mute your participants on entry. That one should be ticked at all times, likewise to give you leeway such that when your participants join, they don't join directly with their audio on. Most probably if some are in a noisy place or they may need to check their environment before they join. There's also an option of require authentication for one to join the meeting. I would advise you to have that option ticked such that it gives you leeway to be selective on who is joining your meeting, lest you have unwanted participants still landing themselves on the link and wanting to join the meeting. If at all your meeting will be having what we call breakout rooms, there's an option as well which you can pre-tick while you're setting up your meeting. But many a times this is not used if your meeting is not really that much complicated. Then there's also the option of automatically recording your meeting. This one is optional. If you want to refer to your meeting afterwards, then you can choose to tick this option as well. All this happens when you're setting up the meeting. Once you're done, at the bottom section, before the schedule meeting button, there's a place which allows you to choose a co-host. This is very critical. It allows you to have somebody, if at all you're the one who's running with the agenda of the meeting, it allows your co-host to be able to take charge of the meeting. For example, you can task them with admitting the people who are on the waiting room. If at all up there you chose the option of waiting room, such that he can verify who is coming into the meeting, blah, 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 and all that. Fast forward to when you've already forwarded the meeting link to your participants and they've started joining. So once you join the meeting, I know most of you are very familiar with the Zoom platform. The moment you enter the meeting as a host, at the bottom section, there are quite a number of options that it gives you. Starting from the bottom left is your audio option, whether you have it on or off. Next to it is the video option. The third option is normally the security option. There is where you also have so many privileges to take, to give, or to deny your participants. So when you click on that, it looks like a shield written security on it. So once you click on it, it will give you a couple of options. Namely, one, you can lock the meeting or you can enable waiting room. Locking the meeting will mean that no other participant will join the meeting until you approve of them. So for example, if you had anticipated 10 people who've already joined the meeting and there's an 11th one who's not part of the meeting or who's not meant to be part of the meeting and they want to join, you'll be in a position to either allow them in or not. The second option is enable waiting room. If at all, for example, when you are setting up your meeting, you selected to use a passcode instead of using the waiting room option. This option, you can also activate it as the meeting is going on. So it will allow you to, as well, be able to take charge of whoever is joining the meeting. Below that, there are some privileges which you can allow your participants as well. One is sharing screen, chat, renaming themselves, and unmuting themselves. If, for example, it's a conference you're hosting and you only have one member of your participants who's doing a presentation, you should be able to deny the rest of your meeting participants this option of one, sharing screen, was the moment, for example, I'm a participant in your meeting and I accidentally hit the share screen button, it will either automatically share my desktop or an application that's open on my machine, or basically something that's showing that it will appear to everyone in the meeting. So it's very crucial for you to disable this option of sharing screen. The chat section, this one gives you a number of options whereby you can select who will chat with who. Are they only allowed to chat with the host? Are they allowed to chat with one another? And can the chats be public to everyone in the group? So we'll come to that later. Also, this option of renaming themselves. Maybe prior to you sending the meeting link, you can advise your participants to join the meeting with their actual names. Many a times people join with either someone is using their iPad, their iPhone, or a different kind of a phone. So what will appear is the name of that phone. So for example, in your participants list, you see there's a Linda, there's a Lydia, and then there's an iPhone X, iPhone SX2, and all that. So it's much easier for you to first tell your participants to rename themselves so that you can easily identify them even when they're on the waiting room. Because for those who are very key and crucial with their meetings, they will for sure not allow anyone who doesn't have their genuine name to join the meeting. The other one is unmuting option. This one will come in handy when the meeting is going on. Some people may accidentally hit the unmute button, then maybe they're having some background noises, maybe there is a child who's crying, or there's an argument that's happening, and definitely by default that voice will come into the meeting. So when the meeting has started, disable this option of people unmuting themselves such that they will not be in a position to interrupt the meeting at any one point. So for you as a host, whenever the moment comes where you need to share your screen, remember to choose the right options on what you want to share. When you click on the share, the green share button that's normally at the bottom section in the middle of all the other options that the meeting gives you. So when you hit on the share button, it will give you option of either one, to share your entire desktop, or two, to share a particular application that's open. So be keen to share, for example, if it's a presentation, you can have it running on presenter mode, such that what you will present is basically the presentation itself, and the controls of the presentation will be left on your screen. So also be keen on that. Then, for example, let's say it's a video that you want to share during your Zoom meeting. When you hit on the share button as well, it will give you an option of optimizing your presentation for a video. So that will enable your video to play in a smooth manner, likewise while the meeting is still going on. Also, not forgetting the option of sharing sound. When you hit the share button as well, it will allow you, it will give you the two options of sharing your computer audio, which is very key, especially when you're sharing a video that has audio. So those are some of the things to keep in mind while you're sharing content during your meeting. Another area as a Zoom host you'll concentrate on is collecting feedback. There are a number of ways that Zoom allows you to collect feedback from your meeting participants. Number one would be on the chat section. As we talked about it earlier, depending on who you're having in your meeting and what privileges you've given them, you may either allow them to just chat directly with you, or allow a conversation to happen or a discussion to happen as the meeting is going on the chat section. So if it comes to a Q&A part of the meeting, you may allow all of them to push their questions on the chat section, or if at all there's a document that needs to be sent to them, they can as well key in their email addresses or their contacts on the chat section for them to receive it. So the chat section is one of the areas which is mostly very active during a Zoom meeting. Number two, Zoom gives you an option of raising hand. So for example, if still it's in a Q&A kind of a section, your participants will be allowed to raise their hands, and you as the host can be able to select who goes first, who asks what, and at what time. And likewise, linking it to your unmuting option. If at all you had not given the privilege of unmuting, then definitely you'll still have some order in the meeting. So if, for example, the first person who's raised their hand is Linda, then you'll be able to unmute them and ask them to proceed to asking their question or giving their feedback during the meeting. While the meeting is going on as well, you as the host are able to select what kind of view your participants will see. Many a times you may have people who've switched on their video, and the moment you do that, it activates what we call gallery mode view for your Zoom meeting. By gallery mode, it allows you to see everyone on one screen who's joined your meeting, regardless of whether their videos are on or they're off. So if at all just one person switches on the video, the gallery view is automatically activated on your meeting. And this many a times will be displaying the names of your participants for those whose video is off, and definitely the video for those who've switched on their video. So for you as a host, you have an option of choosing either gallery view or speaker mode view. Many a times I would advise you to select the speaker mode view, whereby this will only display the person who's doing the presentation or the person who's actively talking at the moment, and then it will minimize the rest of the people to either top left or even remove them completely if you select the full screen mode. Well, also this applies to the participants. They should be in a position on their end to be able to select either of these two options, whether they just want to see the speaker or whether they also want to see everybody else who's in the meeting by selecting the gallery view. Another option that Zoom gives you is recording your meeting. This can be done in two ways. One, you can select this in the beginning when you're creating your meeting link, such that the moment your meeting starts, you'll be in a position it will start recording automatically. And it also gives you two options. One, you can select for the recording to be left on your machine, locally on your machine. Or number two, you can select the option of having the recording done on cloud. Many a times I'd prefer the option of cloud. It gives you guarantee that your recording is much safer. You can refer to it on a later time, and the moment you want to download it, you can still have it on your local machine and still have the backup on cloud. So where to access this option of recording while the meeting is going on, as the host, still at the bottom section where we were referring to the very first option, starting from the bottom left, which was the sound, unmuting and unmuting yourself, the video button, the security, share button, and the like. So after the breakout rooms, there is the option of recording. So you can activate your recording even as the meeting is going on. On the far right section of your options, there are three dots, normally three dots. And when you click on them, they have the more options. Under that, it gives you an option of streaming your meeting. For example, let's say it's a meeting that you'd have loved to have more participants, and maybe the plan you have for your Zoom, it's a bit limiting. I think by default, Zoom comes with 100 participants, and at some point you may want more people to engage with your content. So what you do, you can go to that more settings, click on it, and then select on which platform you want to stream your Zoom meeting. Likewise, that section gives you three options. Number one is streaming your video to Facebook. Number two, if you have configured your workplace Facebook, it will allow you to stream to your work Facebook as well. And number three, it gives you the option of streaming to YouTube. So depending on which platform you feel your people will engage more with, select any of the three. And once you click on it, it will directly redirect you to another page where you will set up your meeting, you'll give it a title, a description, and then you can hit on the Go Live button for your meeting to start streaming. So basically, as a Zoom host. In any case scenario that you want your participants to engage more with you, they can still refer to the recorded version, because automatically the Zoom meeting is over and you end the meeting, the footage of that video will be left on that platform that you are using. So you can be able to, you'll be in a position to either forward them the link from the cloud recording that you saved, or refer them to your social media platform. Having said that, this video is courtesy of the M.I.L.D department, and we are looking forward to enriching you more as we get into this online society. Thank you for joining us today.